Hi, this is Alexa Hanish, and you're watching Outside the Games.
Thank you so much for coming into our program. We have a great guest for you, but to get started here, this is a program dedicated to the student athletes. Yes, a platform that discusses character, family, who they are, on and off the field in their particular sport. We also talk about their sport. We talk about academic support. Very huge. We have a great guest with us. We have Gabi Wilson. She's out of Mansfield, Texas, out of Lake Ridge High School. She's a first base, third base player in softball. Academics 5.0. Yes, 5.0. AP classes in the books. She's part of Mercado, 18U, NTX-Robinson. Again, Gabi Wilson, thank you for coming on Outside the Games. We appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's nice to have you on our program. And we also always get into the aspect of family. Family is the foundation. It means a lot. So how would you define family and why, Gabi?
I would say family is the people who stick by you no matter what, who are constantly supporting you and helping you reach your dreams. And my family has always been that for me. They've always pushed me to be the greatest that I could be, from my brothers helping me when I work out, to my parents recording everything, helping me plan everything. They've just always been a huge support system for me.
You said brothers, so you have siblings, huh?
Yes, I have two brothers.
Older or younger?
Both younger.
Okay. So Gabi beats up on them. Okay, I got it.
Sometimes.
Right. Hey, Gabi's nice now. For parents now, mom and dad play a specific role for you. I mean, without that role, that's those sacrifices, you couldn't be the student athlete you are today. They mean a lot to you. Explain, first of all, your dad, what he does for you to help you be the best student athlete.
My dad does a lot of the physical stuff. He will always go to me when I'm practicing, soft toss to me. He's always the one pushing me, even when I'm super tired and I feel like I can't go any longer. He's always like, Gabi, you have to keep going. He's always on top of me about working by myself if I have to. He does all the videos for me during games. He helps me edit my videos for Twitter. He does a lot.
So there's like content creator, video producer, motivate Gabi, push Gabi hard. No, that's an important role that dad does play. What about mom? We don't want to leave mom out. They each play specific roles. So mom, what does she do to help you be the best student athlete possible, Gabi?
My mom is always videoing my practices whenever my dad is helping me. So she helps a lot with that. And she's always kind of the opposite, she's like, if I have to go vent to her about something, I can always go to her. She kind of gives me a reality check. She's like, hey, it's still a game. You still have to go out there and have fun and do you. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself. So she kind of balances out my dad whenever it gets too much,
I love that word balance, because that's exactly what a student athlete needs. They can't have too much of something. It's got to be balanced in some way. So I like that very much. Talk about mentorship. Mentors are huge because they're the extension of family. They play an important role in your life because family's not always there. Mom and dad are not always there. So there are these ones that do have that role. Explain to me who your mentors are and why.
Off the top of my head, my best mentor would probably be my old coach, Sandra Went. She isn't my coach anymore because she is an assistant coach at Grand Canyon University now. But she's been my coach for maybe 10 years, or not 10 years, 5 years. But without her, I wouldn't be the player I am today. She helped me mature a lot. She helped me learn not only skills, but the mental game, how to appeal to coaches, how to be a great teammate. I always remember my first lesson with her. I didn't pick up the balls fast enough and I had to do burpees. And my dad was just right away. He was like, this is the perfect coach. So she's always taught me hustle, mindset, how to hold myself even when I don't feel well, So without her, I don't know where I would be. And then my strength and conditioning coach, Tristan Smith, I've been with him for about 2 or 3 years, and I've just grown so much under him. He was also a multi-sport D1 athlete whenever he went to college. so I can ask him about stuff whenever I don't know what's going on with my game or if I need advice. He's always there for me. He always talks to me after workouts, helps me, stay within myself because he has went through it, And then my present hitting coach, Bree Rodriguez, I've only been to a couple lessons with her, but she's been very good at helping me stay calm and keep my confidence up. And so I really appreciate that.
I like how each of those mentors, one thing is that their experience of what they've gone through. And so there's always a moment where you as a student athlete can say, you know what do I do here? How do I handle this? Or they're just giving you knowledge. And to us, not outside the games, knowledge is power. You got to use it. And when you can have it, put it in your toolbox, and then you can open that up and kind of recall, that's strong. That's really huge. Looking at, so mentors do play a big role, but let's talk about student athlete challenges. And there's a lot of them. As a student athlete, you have a lot to prepare and try to organize. Now for you though, at your high school, take us through what is Lake Ridge High School like in Mansfield, Texas. Give Outside the Games a tour, virtually in your mind, what we could expect out of that high school and how it supports you to be the best student athlete.
Lake Ridge is it's a 6A school, so it's really big, especially with everyone coming back for COVID. We don't have any virtual option anymore. We have about 2,700 people, so it feels really packed sometimes, but I would say the teachers are really good at being able to give you individual attention anyway. We're really big on school spirit. We have a lot of spirit weeks. We have a lot of the sports teams always go and support each other. So the softball team will go watch the football team and the track team and so on. The coaches all are really good with all the students. It just feels like a really big community. They're really good at supporting their athletes because a lot of the teachers understand that athletes will have games that go really late or will have practices and whatnot, and they're really good at adjusting their dates for that. And the counselors are just great. Like if you need help rearranging your schedule for a sport, or if you don't know if you'll be able to handle this many classes because of your sport, they will be there to converse with you and help you, make the right choice.
Wow. I want to attend. The Eagles, yes, the mascot of Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas. So you mentioned a couple things. Some things that stand out to me, academic support. So it seems like with the teachers, understanding the student athlete, knowing that they have games to prepare for, practices. However, they don't leave out the academics. They make sure that you're academically strong, and the support that you get from the academic support counselors. Why are they so important to you to have you, again, that word balance, to make you a balanced student athlete when you look at, hey, I got to practice, I got to participate in my sport, but I also got to take those academics seriously?
Well, they've been there. I mean, I haven't had to do a lot of schedule changes. I haven't really had to converse with my counselor in person, but whenever I have issues with my schedule, say like softball for our school is last period, and we have a double block period that we can only do the first half of the day. And so they'll always make sure that our periods match up with what our sport has to do. So we're not overlapping anything. We don't have to completely, change our schedule because we messed up something. So they're always there, checking to make sure everything's in the right spot.
Oh, I love that. Looking at the aspect of your teachers, now the teacher and student relationship is very interesting because as we said, you never stop being a student. And I think there's always some kind of lesson you can learn from a teacher. First of all, let's talk about classes though, and we'll get into the teacher-student relationship though. What is Gabi's favorite class to take?
My favorite class right now is probably Women in American History. It's one of my elective history classes. It's really interesting, and it kind of goes in depth about the history of women in America. So I really like that class. But other than that, probably English and math. I'm really good at both of those.
There you go. A class your least favorite class, would you say? There's not got to be one. I mean, a student athlete sometimes says, "Oh, I love all my classes," but there's got to be one that maybe you I just don't feel it as much, but I'll do it.
My least favorite class is probably science. I just don't click with it as well as my other subjects. I usually get good grades in it, and I understand it somewhat, but it's not as interesting to me as the other subjects.
Yeah, and that's hey, on the next level in college, you'll find that very quick. Not to say as a student athlete, when I was in college, I use that word withdraw sometimes. So it's one of those things where you say, hey, I'm not feeling this class, I need to check another class. So that does happen to a student athlete. Um, for you though, the teacher-student relationship, how do you, Gabby, make sure that you're giving the best to the teachers? Because you want to represent the student athletes the right way. How you act and what your character is can say a lot to other student athletes that are in class with these teachers. So you're setting somewhat of a role model for other student athletes. Uh, in your way, what are some things you have to possess to help the teacher be a successful teacher in the class?
Well, I think a really big thing is engaging in the class. So anytime you have questions you want to ask, or anytime, answer everything that they ask if you know the answer. It just helps the teacher know that you're actually paying attention to what they're doing and that you are interested in, making sure that you know the concept. And then also just, getting your work done early is always a good thing. They love whenever you get it done early, making sure it's on time and everything. And that's it.
Obviously for the teacher, and that's to help the teacher be successful. But what does the teacher have to provide for you so that you can be a successful student athlete at Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas?
I think the teachers have to be open to hearing your questions. Some teachers, they don't want to hear questions, or they think it's a stupid question. And I think a really good teacher will be able to understand that sometimes things are harder for you to understand. So then being able to help you with that, or provide you one-on-one help, or understand if you have like conflicting schedules. So maybe moving back a day a little bit, giving you a little extra time. I think that's really good with helping out student athletes.
Now you have attended Lake Ridge High School. Now it's your class of 2023. So you've attended, a couple years or so, got in there in the books there at that high school. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Could you remember what that was like though, first entering high school? Give us a synopsis of what that was for Gabby. You're going from middle school to high school. What was that experience like?
Whenever I first got into high school, I was pretty intimidated just because I was like, wow, I'm walking into halls with people who are 18, like they're about to go to college. And it was really like weird for me. But as I got into the year, I started realizing like these people are still students just like me. And it helped me be able to relate with people more. And also I'm really tall, so people didn't really know I was a freshman. Um, and but I mean, high school, it was more work. It was a more scheduling, more having to pay attention to stuff, especially being able to take AP classes. I think those were the most challenging. But I think I've adapted well.
Yeah, I mean, you have a 5.0. I don't even think that was possible. Okay. 5.0 AP classes. Take us through how you achieve to a 5.0 and how important these AP classes are to you.
Well, whenever you take an AP class, you get an extra 10 points onto your GPA. And so that is what kind of gets you up to the 5.0. And essentially it's the same as a 4.0, but I like to say 5.0 just to let people know that I'm taking advanced classes because it does mean something. AP class, like you can only take one AP class your freshman and sophomore year because they kind of limit it to make sure that you're not overworking yourself. Once you get into junior, you can take more. You can take like actual core classes that are AP. This year, I'm taking 4 AP classes. It's a lot of extra work, and it's a lot of like having to take notes and stay on top of everything. A lot of like writing everything down in a planner, but essentially, it's going to build me good habits for college, and it could give me college credit.
How does Gabby Wilson prepare for tests? Now I'm thinking AP class, and believe me, I've been in AP class in college. Not an easy thing. And so when tests come to you and you have to take a test, how do you handle that? How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, that was a big jump for me going from AP classes because previously I never really had to study much. Like school usually comes naturally to me. So I had to study more. I had to actually take notes and stuff instead of just reading the book so I could remember, because we're allowed to use our notes on tests. So I had to make sure that my notes were quality notes. I had to make sure that I was reading everything thoroughly and actually understanding it. Even some outside research just to make sure that you understand stuff or have background info is good. But yeah, that's really it.
Well, I tell you, we have here with us Gabi Wilson at Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas, class of 2023, first base, third base, softball, of course, part of the Mercado club, and we'll get into that later about that team, Mercado 18U NTX-Robinson. She's a 5.0 academic student, AP classes, you guys. We'll be right back.
I feel like everyone has a superpower, and mine is endurance. So the ability to test myself to keep going is important. Everything I do is with purpose, because we all have the power to change our world and someone else's. What motivates me to keep going is the question, why not? There's no reason for me to stop or slow down. I'm not busy, I'm productive. I see myself as a student, always willing to learn. It's important that I know what it means to continue to grow. Theragun keeps me going. It has made me more intentional about what my body needs. I'm Ali Love, founder of Love Squad, Peloton instructor, and Therabody athlete. I see myself as a conversation starter, a thought provoker, a holder of space. How do you see you?
Well, we'd like to welcome everybody back to Outside the Games. Again, we have here Gabi Wilson, Lake Ridge High School, class of 2023, academic performance 5.0 right now. And she is a softball player there at Lake Ridge High School, first base, third base, but also a part of a club team, Mercado, NTX-Robinson 18U. Gabi Wilson, I tell you, talking about how you're able to manage and organize your life, because it's not easy as a student athlete. You have practice, training, academics, a test, a study, homework, a family. There's so much involved in your life. How do you organize and you know, what tools do you use to be able to do all that?
My mom is really good at keeping everything in a calendar. So like I keep my specific stuff in the calendar, but she keeps everyone's stuff in her calendar. So she's kind of the one who's in charge of the schedules. But I have like Google Calendar. I put everything that I need to do in there. For homework, I have like an app that I put in my stuff into, and it sends me notifications whenever I need to do it. Like my select team, Athletics Mercado, we practice once a week on Sundays and for about 4 hours. And our coaches we only practice once a week because he has us check in with him every Wednesday and tell him what we're doing to practice during the week. So really what I do is I go to school, I try to get a run in, maybe before school if I have time, after school. As soon as I get home, I'm working on as much homework as I can until we go to the cages or we go work out. And then as soon as we get home, I finish up my homework, and whatever time we have after that is family time, watching movies, TV shows, playing Monopoly, whatever.
Somehow I believe that Gabi Wilson on Monopoly is the banker.
Yes.
How did I know? Anyway, side point. So to me though, with the organizing of it, are you a visual planner person? Do you have a planner? Your mom helps you out with that. You did say that, but there's some aspect of, is there an easel board? I found that some student athletes use that. I mean, and then kind of just mark off stuff as you complete it. Is that kind of how you go about things?
Well, I do that, but I do it virtually. I do it on like Google Calendar, like I was telling you about. I just, like every Sunday, I put what I have to do and what we schedule for the week, and I just redo it every week. So I can, I look every day just to see what we have, make sure there's nothing I need to change, and it helps me a lot.
So you're managing that Google Calendar. You're really trying to maximize that, and especially when you got to wipe that slate, you got to put on a brand new week or a brand new 4 weeks of the month. How far do you plan in advance? How do you do that? Because that's an important piece to a student athlete, how they forecast correctly in what they're trying to do, plan, organize. How do you do that?
For major things like this interview, I would plan it a couple weeks out, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. For smaller things like what we work out every day and stuff, it can change depending on whose schedule changes, my dad's school schedule, his work schedule, whatever. So that's kind of, we put that out as we know it, and it may change as we get closer to the date.
Okay, that works. Now for you, when it comes to, we're going to talk about media, and media can be a student athlete challenge. Some people can use media the right way, some people can't. But in the way your outlook is, how do you handle social media to make sure you're putting the right stuff out there, and handling all those social media platforms?
Well, I think I got on Twitter about a couple years ago, 2, 3. I didn't know it was this big. At first, we just, took videos whenever we could, posted it, whatever. And me and my dad spend a lot of time on my Twitter. And so we kind of would see other players taking more time editing their videos, making sure that there wasn't any fence or net in it, making sure it was a good video, tagging colleges and stuff. And so we kind of just started replicating what we saw. We try to post a little bit of everything that I do every day. We tag people, we tag recruiting sites, we tag colleges, we tag my coaches. Me and my dad, like if I ever have to message someone, or if I have to, whenever I post stuff, I always send it to my mom, because she's always good at check reading it, making sure there's no typos or errors, or I'm putting the right information out there. So it's kind of a whole family thing that we just, and then like my little schedules that I make, my brother edits them on the computer. He takes a little picture and he puts it, because he's really good with technology and stuff. So it's a whole family thing. We all get into it. We all make sure it looks the best it can be.
Oh, I love that. The whole family gets involved. That's a great thing. Hey, listen, people. If you haven't seen Gabi Wilson, there's a problem. She's all over Twitter with her training videos, her hitting, and different ways of softball. I mean, I tell you, it's fun to watch some of these videos that are created. Definitely. Looking at that though, how do you think it's something that, when you look at the social media platform itself, do you think it's something that you have to just make sure before I put that out, I got to read over that, I have to proofread it? I mean, there's some emphasis there, because once you send it out there, there's this thing called screenshotting that can be done. So you don't want to, even though you can send something out, to delete it and find it and delete it quick, it could be screenshotted somewhere else. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have colleges following me. I have people who know colleges following me. I have recruiting sites, and so I can't just post whatever out there. I have to make sure that it's appropriate content. I have to make sure that there's no typos, that it's the right information. Because even if I do delete it, it can still be found.
Yes, and you're diligent, and I'm sure, like you said, it's a whole family affair. You don't want a little brother going, what's that you just posted? I don't understand this. But looking at what these student athlete challenges, there's some things in your that can kind of make it hard to be organized. And what are some things that you can find with yourself that you struggle with, that can make it to where you can't get some things done, or maybe you put something off and you don't? What are some things you go through there?
Well, with school, like I said, it's new for me taking notes. I don't usually do that. So I procrastinate on that a lot. I try not to, but it's not my thing. So I try to get as much done, but sometimes I end up procrastinating and having to do it right before I go to bed or something, or sometimes I'll forget to put something in my planner, and also I'll be like, oh, it's due at 11:59. I have to get it done. And I'll have to do it at 10 o'clock and get to bed just a little late. But usually I'm on top of all of it.
One of the things that we always talk about at Outside the Games is your presentation is everything. How you present material, homework, yourself, who you are is everything, because it's that first glance that a person makes. If they're hearing something from you, or they're seeing something from you. How important is presentation when you're looking at everything you do as far as a student athlete, academically as well?
I think presentation is really important, because a lot of people's impressions of you come from the first glance, and it's nothing more. Like for my homework, I always make sure my handwriting is nice, that it's written in pen if it has to be, that I color if I need to, just to make sure that it looks like I put effort into it. For my videos, we'll add those little graphics and stuff just to make the video a little bit more exciting, just to draw people's attention. So we are always doing what we can just to grab people's attention in a positive way.
Love that. Oh, that's something that's so important, is how you present yourself and what is you're presenting, to make sure it's put out the right way. Definitely. Talking a little bit about your high school, in a sense of, the alumni from Lake Ridge High School. Do you see some of them come back and check into some of these sports? I mean, sports are big. The school spirit of the Eagles there at Lake Ridge High School is something I'm sure that's important that you see. But do you see some alumni come back and check out sports?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I remember my freshman year, we had the first day of school, we had like 2 seniors come back and just hang out with us for the day. And we didn't, they were just with us for team bonding. But I was like, I didn't know that seniors just came back to the high school. I didn't really think about it. And we've had anyone who can come, anyone that didn't go to college out of state or anything, they'll come by, watch our games, get fan shirts and stuff like that. And that's really important because it just shows, the legacy.
Well, we talk about Mercado NTX-Robinson 18U. Why the decision to want to play, club team ball, softball? What went into that decision in doing so?
Well, I played rec from like 8 to 11 maybe, and I started wanting to get to the next level. I had never really thought about it, but I had friends that were playing at the next level, and I'm really competitive and I wanted to be as good as them. I don't like being worse than people. And so I started working with my dad, trying out for teams, and I got on my first select team. And ever since I've just stuck with travel ball, because a lot of recruiting is in travel ball. Like whenever you go to tournaments and stuff, it's a lot of out of state, like college showcases, sometimes your team will even take you to a camp as a team. The coaches usually talk to your travel coach. So there's a lot of recruiting done through there. There's a lot of traveling. You get to meet people from other states whenever you go to different states to play softball. You get to see coaches actually there in person watching you. So that's a really surreal thing to see. But it also helps you deal with pressure better.
And I think there's nothing really left out when we say there's a lot of managing, again, schedules. Your parents are, when you talk about traveling, the itineraries, where are you going next? Who's going to be there? What are we going to videotape? What there's a lot that goes into that, isn't there?
Oh, yes, definitely. The travel doesn't travel that much during fall, but during summer, it's like we went to Oklahoma every weekend. It was a lot of stuff. And so we'd have to see like what days my dad could take off if he could come. He would always bring his laptop. He was working from home this summer because of COVID. So he would just bring his laptop, and sometimes he would be on his laptop during the game. We always have a GoPro that we hang up during the game, so we can just film the whole game and get plays out of it after the game. So we always make sure that's charged. We always have to, like if I have summer work or if I have school work, that I can bring that with me during the drive. It's a lot of scheduling, and sometimes, a parent can't be there, or we have to leave my siblings at a family's house. But most of the time, everyone tries their best to be there.
How important are those coaches there because you're getting a little bit of taste, not only the fact of your softball high school team, but now we're talking club, and we'll get into high school later, but the club team, there's coaches there that are educating you, helping you about the sport, about softball, how to be a better teammate. How important are those coaches for that club team?
I think the coaches are really important, especially whenever you get closer to being recruited, because the coach is going to be kind of your representation towards college coaches until they can talk to you. They're going to email the coaches. They're going to say, hey, I'm interested in this player. What do you think? They're going to say, hey, can you give me your schedule? Hey, can you put her on the field? And if that coach isn't representing you in the correct way, they could, afford you college opportunities. So I think it's really important about how the coach represents their players and how they market them. But also it matters what standards your coach holds you to, because that also will show the college coach kind of what kind of player you are if your coach doesn't coach in the correct way. Like if your coach is really rowdy at games, if they're always arguing with the umpire, yelling, it doesn't send a good image to college coaches, and they most likely won't want to watch you.
You know, we always talk the human element here at Outside the Games, and the human element of relationships, I think, are so important. Your teammates, how important are your teammates to you? I mean, when you talk about, you know, and we'll just talk softball, high school, and even the club team. These relationships you build with these girls, it's something where I've heard sometimes you go to college and you go, I remember you, we played against you, or you were my teammate. You're building relationships. That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think relationships with your teammates are so important because when you're on the field, you have to know that your teammates have your back. And if you don't, it's really hard to play the game to your best ability if you're worried about what your teammates are going to do. Knowing that you're there in the dugout cheering you on anytime is a great feeling. But also, the community is small. So a lot of times, you know, you could have just played someone once and they'll remember you. And they could know someone, they could be someone important and you wouldn't even know. So you kind of have to watch how you treat everyone because you never know who they're connected to.
I love that, Gabi. You know, we've always said on Outside the Games, you never burn bridges. You try you try the hardest not to burn bridges, and that's one of the examples why. You never know when you're going to need somebody down the road, and because they could be in college and eventually, you know, move on, and they're like, okay, they're in a position of helping you out in some way. Right?
Definitely. Just like one of the seniors at my high school, I only played with her for a little bit because of COVID. Our season got cut short, but I had some sort of relationship with her. She went to the University of Minnesota, I think. Starts with an M. It's a big D1 school. I'm sorry, I never remember. I always get it mixed up with Michigan and all the other ones. But whenever I'm having issues or whenever I have questions about college and stuff, I always just hit her up on Instagram and I ask her because she's someone that I trust to give me answers, and she's someone that can help me kind of get a view of what college is like, you know.
I like that. And hey, all, you know, Midwest colleges are Midwest colleges, you know, Michigan, Minnesota, I mean,
I just know it's somewhere cold.
somewhere in there. And at least you knew the letter M, so that's good. So you look at those relationships, because I think what happens is we not only do we say that, hey, you may need them, but also there's something that they're doing that you could learn from. It's the way they train. It's the way they approach their sport. Has there been an example where you've had a teammate and on Mercado that you've kind of said, oh, you know what, I can apply that to my toolbox? Has there been a situation like that?
Well, I just got on Athletics Mercado. I just got on the team. I haven't really gotten a chance to know everyone, but for high school, definitely the girl I was talking about. Her name is Mackenzie Denson. Every time she just go to the gym in her free time, worked out all the time. She didn't let any drama or anything affect her at all. She just played her game all the time, and she made sure to know herself and her limitations. So if she was hurting, she made sure to tell the coaches that, you know, hey, I think I need to sit out, even if she wanted to play really badly, because she knew she had to protect herself and her health, you know.
Oh, yes, I get that. Well, we have here Gabi Wilson, Lake Ridge High School, Mansfield, Texas, class of 2023, first base, third base, softball, of course, the Mercado, NTX-Robinson 18U team, athletics, and hey, 5.0 GPA. We'll be right back.
We're all moving at our own speed. From essential workers to frontline responders to you. Whenever you're ready to get out there, Enterprise is ready too. With our complete clean pledge, you'll have the peace of mind that will get you safely on your way, wherever and whenever that may be. Enterprise. When you're ready, we're ready.
The games with Gabi Wilson, class of 2023, first base, third base, softball player, Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas. Again, she's a 5.0 student. And we talk, Gabi, about training and what training is meant for you. But let's talk about COVID. COVID has been something that's altered training a little bit when the country was going through that. We can remember 2020 when it first happened and what that was like for everybody else around Texas, because there were some states, Texas, Florida, in the South, some of those states that had a different outlook when it came to COVID and how they handled it. Where West Coast states basically were shutdown mode. There was no games. So take me through what that experience was, because that was a pandemic and you had to go through a lot to protect yourself and your family.
Well, whenever we first got quarantined, it was about spring break from school, and we just never went back from spring break. So we did school virtually for the rest of the year. We couldn't play any high school softball. We couldn't do any travel ball at all until maybe halfway through the summer. We got maybe like late June, early July, and that was what we did with our season. But we were playing every weekend trying to get tournaments in, because we didn't know when the next time we were going to get shut down was. Masks weren't required because it was an outside sport, so it wasn't required to go wear it at the tournaments or anything. When we went back to school, masks were required. We had a virtual option that people went to. So I went in person because I just don't learn well virtually. But masks were required. Social distancing was in place. Windexing everything, wiping down all the surfaces, separating people in the cafeteria. So there was a lot of that stuff going on. A lot of the places that I went for like strength and conditioning and my lessons and stuff was closed because like individually they wanted to close it for safety. So I had to focus more on working out by myself, going outside with my brothers and just using whatever we had to go work out, running, using little jump ropes, med balls, whatever we could find, just to get some conditioning in, some work in, and then, working with my dad outside. And so I think that kind of, whenever we opened up again, it helped me because not only was I going back to doing the stuff that I was in person, but I was also doing the stuff that I had still been doing by myself. So it kind of helped me work harder. It helped me learn how to work harder and have more self-motivation. We were able to play last year for softball in high school and in travel ball. There was masks required during high school games, not while we were on the field, but while we were in the dugout, just to make sure, because everyone was in this, a confined space together. There was some games that we had to reschedule because our team was quarantined for about 2 weeks, stuff like that. But I'm just glad that our season never got canceled. It was a lot of it was a lot of family time. I would like to add that we were at home a lot, but it was hard not being able to play softball at the beginning of the quarantine, just because I was so used to playing it so often. And I felt like I missed out on a lot of camps because those were closed until January this year. They were closed for a long time. And so I was worried about that. So as soon as those opened, I started, scheduling as many camps as I could. I'm still doing that. Just, recruiting season is coming up. So I've just been doing as much as I can, but it was hard. But overall, it taught me how to have self-motivation. It taught me how to schedule better, and it gave me quality time with my family. And I'm so glad that we all stayed safe,
And you can't leave out creativity. I mean, you had to be, as a student athlete, be very creative when it came to workout sessions. What am I using today? But I think that it taught you really patience. I think patience was involved as well, because you had to be, and week to week, you didn't really know what was this team going to be quarantined that we're going to face. Are we going to have to reschedule? I mean, so there was a lot of questions that I think, during COVID, there was some of that, but I think the resiliency of you making sure that you're staying safe, you're following the protocols, you're going to keep putting that effort in training, even though it's a downtime, you can't get to what you want, you're still doing. And let's be clear, film. You look at film was something that was very hard for a student athlete, where you couldn't capture a lot of maybe tournaments that you wish you could have, because that film time is very big, isn't it?
Yeah, we just keep we just keep the GoPro. We try to, we just we try to get everything that we can and edit it,
Do what you can. That's really what It's really what happens there is that you do what you can. Talking about the training though for you, you're an AP person, so you know what I'm talking about, anatomy, physiology of the body and how you train the body to get the most out of your sport. But first of all, let's talk why softball. What made you love the game of softball, want to play the game of softball, be around softball, compete in softball? Take us through that.
Well, when I first started playing, I was about 8 years old. I had to play with a lot of people who were younger than me because we just signed up really late, and so that was my first year. I was way taller, way stronger than everyone. I mean, even people my age, just because of how tall and big I am. I really liked that. I really liked being stronger than everyone. And I think at first I was just playing it like I didn't really care. And my dad is the one who noticed, like, hey, she has real, potential here. And so he started pushing me. But whenever I realized how much potential that I had, I think that that's what kind of motivated me to choose softball over everything else, because being able to see, like, physically how much more talent I had, how much potential I had, what I could be, it just motivated me so much, and it made me love the game.
Yeah, and you look at that aspect of the training that's involved in it. You had to teach your body a certain way. Like there were certain exercise regimens you had to put your body through to get the most out of wanting to play the game of softball. Speaking of the training aspect, because it's one thing to love the game of softball, but then you got to do the work. You got to do the work that it takes to train. So take us through that training, building your body right for the game of softball, playing first and third base now.
Yeah, whenever I was younger, I really didn't have much of a work ethic. I didn't. Most of it was my dad having to make me go outside, having to do this. And once I started getting passion for the game, once I started realizing what I had to do to get better, it was just, I would just go outside in the mornings and hit. And I think that every season it's gotten better. Like every season I've thought, hey, I can't possibly work harder, and then I find a way to work harder. So right now I'm hitting and fielding every day of the week. We'll go to the batting cages. Sean's baseball team, my little brother, they have a hitting facility that we go to with my dad that we can just go in anytime we want, which I'm so grateful for, because we'll just go in like early Saturday mornings, late during the week to go work out. Sometimes, my dad will be busy. We can't go anywhere, so we'll just go in the backyard and hit with me and my brother. We have my strength and conditioning 3 times a week. We're just working all the time. And if we don't have tournaments that week, then we're working.
Talk to me about the position of first base and third base. Why the corners for you? What is it about those positions that you really love and are passionate about?
Well, I always play those positions just because of how tall I am. Usually people who are really tall play first base because they have longer reach, longer arm span. So if it just happens to be a bad throw, you have more chance of catching it. People who have a strong arm like me usually play third base. I really had to work on my footwork to play third base because it's a lot more, like the balls are hit really hard to third base. So I had to work on my footwork a lot. But I think my favorite position is first base, just because I like my teammates knowing that even if their throws are off that day, that they just have to get the ball around me and I'm going to catch it. And I think that first base is a really big position, because if your first base doesn't know how to catch the ball, you're not going to get out. So I like the feeling of my team depending on me.
And there's a lot of adjustments too. You look at first and third base is that you're going more infield, you're going maybe a little bit out, maybe there's a side you lean on depending on the batter. Is there a lot that you have to read when it comes to the batter that's coming up to the plate? You maybe know how that person hits or where they're going to hit it. You have to really study, don't you?
Oh, definitely. And you have to, like, for instance, maybe the first 2 batters in the lineup will usually be small balls, so they'll bunt. You have to play up more to get the bunt. You have to they're going to be really fast, so you have to be prepared to, get the ball out of your glove real fast. And then 3 through 6 will be, your power hitters, or your consistency hitters. So you're going to have to be prepared for, they're going to get the ball and play no matter what. They're going to hit the ball hard to you. So you have to, scoot back more, be prepared for anything, be ready to move. And then the end of your lineup is usually your cleanup hitters. So you have to be prepared, to get if there's runners on base, you have to make sure that they don't move anywhere. And then we keep books during the game. So the coaches will remember, this hitter did this hitter came to shortstop that time, so be ready. So it's kind of like that. You have to remember where they hit last inning. We write it down in the book, and the coaches will be like, hey, came to you last inning, came to center, just so people are ready.
How awesome is it to make a double play?
Oh, I love making double plays. It's my teams that I was on when I was younger, they never really put much emphasis on double plays. And so whenever I got on like higher level teams, they did it a lot in practice. They went on for double plays a lot in practice, and I never really thought about it. But making a double play in a game, like everyone just starts cheering. It's so fun, especially whenever they do it like second to first, because you have to do like a big stretch just to make sure that they don't beat you. And that's just, it just feels great, especially when it's the last two outs, because you just walk off the field feeling so good about yourself going into the next inning with momentum,
Yeah, because a lot of times when a ball is thrown to you, and we'll just take first base, for example, sometimes you're going to have to stretch. And there's something about that connection of your foot on the bag while you're making the stretch. Is there it's not an easy thing to do, yeah?
No, sometimes you have to, stretch really far out. Maybe the ball is way left, way right, and you have to just have the tip of your foot on the bag and never take it off, because they'll watch if you take your foot off. Even if you jump off for a second and put it right back on, they'll notice, and it'll probably be a safe out. So even if I have to like go on the ground and pick something, I'll be on the ground and my foot's just way behind me,
What's the hardest play to make on a first and third base? What seems to be the most struggle or challenge about those positions?
The hardest one to make at first base is the one that I have to work on the most is usually picks. So like if the ball like short hops right in front of you, just because it's coming at a high speed, you have to know when it's going to hop and where it's going to hop. So it's a lot of multitasking in that moment. And because whenever you get at a higher level, you're expected to catch that. Whenever you're younger, it's more like, hey, this is a bad throw, it's okay, we understand. But whenever you get older, you're expected to catch that. That's your job as a first baseman. And so I work on that the most with my dad, just to make sure I'm always ready for those, because those are the most gratifying to get, because they're so hard. Whenever I get picks in a game, I get excited, because getting the pick, getting the out is a great feeling. Third base, I would say that the hardest would be probably playing bunt situations, just because you have to be so close to the batter and you have to read if they're going to bunt or if they're going to pull back and hit. And you have to be quick getting to the ball and quick getting the ball out of your glove. So I think that's a lot of multitasking too.
Is there something to be said about this, Gabi? The ballparks. So like when you go to a ballpark, is the first base, third base, and maybe outfield, they're looking at the field. They're like, okay, what is this field like? Where is there a spot here that could be a problem? Let me clean it up with my cleat. Does it get that technical?
Oh yeah. Whenever we the dirt consistencies could be different. So like some dirt will be super rocky. You have to watch your hops really, really bad. Some of it will be super sandy, and so there'll be hills places. Your feet could get stuck. The ball could hit something and just completely bounce the other way. You could trip. It's just a lot of, or if it's muddy, you have to make sure. So, a lot of people, like they say you're playing in the dirt. Usually I'm just moving sand out of my way so I don't fall.
What about the grass, the way it's cut? There's something to be said about that too.
Oh yeah. I don't usually have to go in the outfield, but if there's like a lip between the dirt and the grass, and the ball just has to bounce over that is so hard for outfielders to get, because it could just pop up in their face and they have to be prepared for that,
Something to be said about communication between the first and third base, and again, the infield. Is there communication that's happening also outfield, so that everybody's involved in some kind of communication? Take us inside the game a little bit.
Definitely. Coaches try to teach you that no one should ever be quiet during a play. So even if you're not in the play, even if the ball's never coming to you, you're yelling, you're telling the other people where to go, because whenever you're playing, you learn what the other position is supposed to do. So even if you're an outfield and you don't play third base, you know that where they're supposed to go in a certain situation, and you're yelling at them, telling so that they know where they're supposed to go. Outfield usually sees the runners before the infield does, like if they're stealing bases or something, because we're not facing towards them. So outfield will yell runner if someone's stealing so the catcher can know. Dugout does that as well. They're usually on runners, so they'll yell runner so the catcher can know. You always yell the base that you're going to, call ball, stuff like that. So it's everyone's communicating with each other just to make sure that everyone knows what's going on.
Talking about your softball team at Lake Ridge High School, talk to me about that team and why that team is special to you.
Our team has been through a lot of stuff. We've had, like, our coach, my freshman year was her first year coaching, so we've kind of grown with her. So the juniors the people who are juniors now have only had her as a coach, and that's, special to them because we've grown with her as she's grown as our coach. So we've been able to, tell people this. We've never had to compare her. We never had to adjust to a different kind of coaching. But I think that dealing with COVID and everything, dealing with, we're in a high school, every team has drama. So we, have to get through that. And being able to get through that and still be part of a team and still know to put the team first kind of builds us and, makes us know that we can still trust each other, even if we have a problem with someone, even if someone's just not having a good day, we know that we can still trust them on the field.
Oh, that's important. Your schedule, like last year, I mean, even though there was COVID, you still had a schedule. You still were able to compete. What made last year so challenging for your team at Lake Ridge, those Eagles?
Well, we had to start conditioning, practicing a little later just because we had to go over COVID protocols. We had to, make sure we didn't know what we could do and what we couldn't do. We had to line up before every practice and make sure that we were in certain spots that were social distance and wear masks while we stretched. Anytime that we were moving around and practicing, we could take them off. But anytime we were standing still, getting water, whatever, we had to keep them on. And there was administrators watching our practice. So if we, weren't strict on it, then they could take our season away, We always had like people in our dugouts during games just to make sure that people had their masks on. We missed right before playoffs started, we missed our last couple of district games that we had to reschedule because our whole team got quarantined, and that was hard because we couldn't even, practice as a team. We couldn't be around each other at all. So we had to just meet over Zoom, and the coach would be like, give us some stuff to work on. And then, some of our games with other teams got canceled because grades, because COVID. So it was just a lot of, we didn't know what was going to happen the next week. And we were just really hoping that nothing really bad happened, that our season didn't get canceled or anything. And we just, took it day by day.
You take those challenges that you faced and it's something that made you stronger. So you look at this year and what this can be for you. Obviously, hey, to win a state title would be just the most amazing thing ever. But what do you want to get out of this season with your teammates and coaches?
I want to feel like everyone is giving 100%. Every time you're on a team, sometimes you have that one person that you feel like isn't giving 100. And being an underclassman, sometimes you feel like you don't have the authority to tell that person off, I think that being an upperclassman this year kind of gives me more confidence to be able to lead my team more, be able to motivate them more, be able to teach the underclassmen, how to be the best teammates they can, how to adapt to our team. So I just really want to see the best out of everyone because our team has so much talent and so much potential, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
Oh, that's going to be an exciting season, definitely, for sure. Well, I tell you, Gabi Wilson, we've appreciated having you on our program. It's been such a delight.
It's been great. It's been great being on the show. It was great. I was so excited. It's amazing.
Love it. Love it. Well, I tell you, we're not done. We have this thing called the Quick Blitz. Gabi Wilson, we get to know you on a more personal level. Get ready for some questions coming at you rapid fire. First one is, what's your favorite food?
Asian food.
There you go. Favorite dessert?
Brownies or cheesecake. Cheesecake brownies.
I like how you put that together. Apple or Android, and why?
Apple. I've always had Apple. I have no clue how Androids work, so I don't think I'm gonna choose anything else.
Favorite cleat to wear?
Favorite cleats? New Balance. I think that's what I've had the last couple of years. They've lasted me pretty well.
Favorite mitt?
Rawlings. I use Rawlings for most of my equipment.
Last movie you just saw?
What was the last movie I saw? I don't remember what it was called. Catch Me If You Can. That movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. But it's a blur to her. She's so busy. She doesn't remember the title. It's okay. Favorite car, if you could drive a car, any SUV or car that Gabi Wilson would love to have? Anyone?
I love muscle cars. So like Dodge Chargers, like Mustang. I love those. Old fashioned like retro Chevys and stuff. I like those too. Convertibles.
She likes her classics. Okay. If you had to choose a destination spot anywhere in the world, what would that be? What would that destination spot be?
New York. Just because a lot of people choose beaches and I don't like the ocean that much. And I think that it would be really cool to just see all the different cultures there, see how different it is from Texas, because it's definitely very different. And it just seems really exciting.
If you were running late somewhere and you had to let somebody know, would you call or text, and why?
It depends on who it is. If it was my friends, I'd probably text them. If it was someone important, I'd probably call them,
If you could, favorite musical artist currently right now? One if you had to choose.
It's probably not, I don't think anyone knows it. Like I listen to like rock. Well, I mean, Linkin Park is one that people know, so I like Linkin Park right now.
Nice. It's okay. Jazz, whatever, hip hop, it doesn't matter. It's what you like, so that's good. There's been a lot to be said as far as what's going on in the world and what's happened. I mean, we're seeing a lot of different things now. I mean, 2020 it's over, but 2021, if there's one thing you could have an impact on, Gabi Wilson, what would that one thing be and why?
I would want to have an impact on the number of women of color in softball. There's not a lot of diversity in softball, and we don't have a lot of people to look up to in that. And so I think that that's a really big deal for young athletes like me. Just, I mean, like seeing Odyssey Alexander in the World Series, she was a huge inspiration to women of color, little girls, wanting to play softball, because they don't see a lot of role models like that in the media.
Oh, that's big. And it was inspiring and just a fun to watch, I tell you.
Definitely.
Last thing your mom told you?
My mom was just in the office before the interview started, so she asked me if I needed to speak.
There you go. Last thing your dad said to you?
He said good luck. He's at college right now, so he was just texting me and he said good luck for your interview.
Nice. If there's, we're going to talk about this thing here is favorite casual shoe to wear?
I wear tennis shoes all the time, probably Nike.
All right. Is there a favorite particular Nike?
No, not really. If I think it looks cool, I'll just get it.
Doesn't matter. Just put some Nikes on. She's rolling. Yeah, got it. All right, this one is going to be, because I tell you, you're smart, you're a good student athlete, you're a 5.0 student, you'll get this right. I'm going to give you, what would you prefer, okay?
Okay.
So, would you prefer a uniform that you were given and it's got a stain on it? It's game day. Or would you prefer to be on outside the games?
Outside the games.
Hey, I tell you, it's been a pleasure to have you, Gabi Wilson. I tell you, she's watch out for her, folks. Class of 2023 out of Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield, Texas. They're the Eagles, spirit of the Eagles there. She's a 5.0 student. AP classes is what she's doing, and she's keeping busy. She's gonna do well in class. I know that. Can't doubt her there. Part of Athletics Mercado, 18U, NTX-Robinson, Gabi Wilson, softball player, first base, third base. It's been a pleasure to have you on our show.
It's been great being here. I'm so glad to have the opportunity.
This is Anaya Jackson. You have been watching Outside the Games.